On November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated while visiting Dallas, Texas in Dealey Plaza. After 45 minutes of the assassination, a man named Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested for the murder of a police officer. After hours of interrogating, police concluded that Oswald was the killer of President John F. Kennedy.
One photographer standing on the side of Elm Street that afternoon snapped a photo at the instant the fatal shot struck the president. The background for her photo was the grassy knoll. In this tiny, grainy image, produced by Marianne Moorman's Highlander 80A Polaroid camera, is what some conspiracy theorists believe is the smoking gun, literally. At first glance, the shadows and shapes of the grassy knoll reveal nothing more than trees and a fence. But upon closer examination, in an area just above and behind a wall, some researchers have found the foggy image of a man who appears to be firing a gun.
About 16 feet north of the southeast corner of that stockade fence, they see some guy, they say, with a uniform on, and he has a badge. And they call him the Badge Man, and they say he's the Grassy Knoll assassin.
Dr. Lenny Rudin attempts to enhance the photo.
So he decides to cross-check the Badge Man's size.
The question is, what is his true size?
With the help of another photo of the grassy knoll taken by a press photographer just minutes after the assassination, Dr. Rudin lines up a common element in both photos, the white retaining wall.
Let's see how it compares with the original picture. There's a technique to do this. It's called three-dimensional registration. We are able to compare images that are taken by different cameras from different locations at different times.
With the 5-foot wall as a reference point, Dr. Rudin measures the people in the photos, including the Badge Man, and begins to calculate their relative sizes.
So let's measure him from what appears to be 1/3 of his torso. And let's measure the size of the Badge Man, okay? So we record that. Now, according to our calculation, and assuming that the person standing here is roughly 6 feet, we deduce that the Badge Man, or a shooter, is 2.88 feet tall. That's impossible.
Now that we know the grassy knoll theory is impossible, let's take a look at the single bullet theory. Dale Myers, an ABC correspondent, shows how this theory is actually fact instead of theory.
Film in detail. Let's orient ourselves first off. Zapruder, of course, is standing on a 4.5-foot high pedestal just west of the book depository. So he's looking up toward the corner. The limousine has just finished and completed its turn and starting to glide down Elm Street. Frame 133 is the first frame in which the president appears. As we advance the frames here, around frame 160 is approximately the time of the first shot, apparently a shot that missed. Governor Conley said that he was looking to the left side of the car. He heard a shot, immediately identified it as a high-powered rifle shot, and so he said he turned to his right because the sound seemed to come from over his right shoulder. And so we see him right here, looking to his left. And in the next couple of frames, we see his head turn, and now he's looking to his right. So it's a very quick head snap, quarter of a second, like this. Now the car glides down toward the Stemmons Freeway sign. The car disappears for a moment. You see Governor Conley emerge first from behind the sign. He does not appear to be injured. Next frame, 223. You can see the white shirt. You can see his jacket. You can see a little bit of gray area where his tie is. And something happens. between frame 223 and 224, we can really pinpoint the moment that the bullet strikes. Watch the jacket. You notice it changes shape. It's almost as if the jacket has popped out a little bit, kind of bulged out. Before, after. Before, and after. In fact, a bullet has struck him in the right back and has emerged about an inch below his nipple, blowing about a 2-inch ragged hole. In the next frame, the president comes out from behind the sign. We see kind of an anguished look on his face, and his hands immediately go up toward his throat, and they come up in a guarded manner, and the elbows rise in a very dramatic and a very high fashion. So he's kind of like this. But you'll note that both men are reacting simultaneously.
This moment gives rise to what is called the single bullet theory, that the second shot hit both men, passing through the president and into the governor. This is challenged by those who say that President Kennedy and Governor Connally were hit by different bullets from different guns, and 2 guns would make a conspiracy.
Here we have President Kennedy and Governor Connally at the moment of the second shot. This is the moment they're hit, the equivalent of Zapruder frame 223. As we know, President Kennedy was struck in the upper right back. He had another bullet wound in his throat. It was believed to have passed through his throat, moving back to front. Governor Connally, struck in the right back just near the armpit. That bullet emerged his right chest about 1 inch below the nipple line. When we look at their positions based on the Zapruder film, this is exactly how they were seated at that moment at frame 223. Governor Connally sitting slightly inboard of the president. In addition to that, he's turned sharply to his right. You can already see from this that any bullet striking the president in the upper right back and emerging out of his throat, that bullet is going to continue forward, and it's going to hit Governor Connally exactly where he was hit. Connally has to be hit, and the fact that they both react at the same time clinches it. So, it's not a magic bullet at all. It's not even a single bullet theory, in my opinion. It's a single bullet fact.
So if President Kennedy and Governor Connally were hit from behind by the same bullet, where did it come from? Using the men's body positions and the locations of their wounds, Myers can isolate the source of the shot.
We could start with, for instance, Governor Connally's entrance wound on his back, connect that with the point of exit on the president's throat, and then take that line and project it rearward. What we end up with is a line that goes right back through the sniper's nest window, the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository.